It's time to check in on the livestock markets with our livestock marketing specialist, Dr. Derrell Peel. Derrell, so the rain keeps coming. So does this change the overall drought outlook and, the implications that could have on the cattle markets?
Well, the rain certainly helps the producers who are getting it. We're getting, reasonably widespread rain in parts of Oklahoma. And we're sort of chipping away at the broader area of drought. But the fact of the matter is we still have a lot of drought. So at this point in time, I don't think this really does change the overall market situation that we're seeing right now. We're still trying to figure out exactly who's getting it and who's not and how much impact that has. It's very timely rain, very beneficial where it's happening, but we still need a lot more is the bottom line.
Is the cattle industry at all beginning to build back those, the cutbacks that they have been doing in the past?
You know what, we're really not. In fact, coming into this year, just given the numbers that we had in terms of replacement heifers and so on, it looked very likely like we would continue to see at least a limited amount of liquidation this year. It depends or depended on the drought, and we do see continuing drought. So I think at this point, it's highly unlikely that we could actually turn this thing around and stop the liquidation completely. Now, we don't expect a lot of liquidation, but it does depend on what happens to the drought as we go forward.
Even though a lot of the state is still in drought, I had the opportunity to drive up north in some of the areas that were really heavily affected by drought earlier in the year, but the pastures are looking green. So what's the forage situation looking like?
Well, I think in some cases it's a little deceiving. I've had producers tell me, yeah, it looks green out there, but there's really not a lot of growth yet and so on. And that's kind of reflected. USDA released the first May pasture and range condition report, this last week, and these run from May to October. And if you look at it, Oklahoma for the first week of these reports is still 54% in poor to very poor condition for our pastures. And more importantly, again, talking about that broader drought area, Kansas, Nebraska, and Texas, along with Oklahoma, are all states that had over 50% poor to very poor ratings for their pasture and range conditions. So, again, we still have an awful lot of drought out there. Now, again, we're getting more rain in some of those areas, so that'll chip away at that. But I don't think we're certainly not taking the drought completely away at this point.
So given all that, can herd rebuilding begin at all this year?
Well, I think it kind of depends. It looks like with the rain that we're getting and the kind of overall change in the weather patterns, and that's what the meteorologists have been telling us, that we were going to transition through the year to some more favorable conditions. So I think what we're doing is setting up the idea of being in better shape for next year. But in terms of herd rebuilding, we might start saving some heifers this fall. We're not doing that yet. In fact, if you look at cow plus heifer slaughter so far this year, it's even higher than it was this time last year. And so, beef cow slaughter is down, dairy cow slaughter is up, kind of offsetting that, and heifer slaughter continues strong. So, we haven't stopped getting worse yet before we can start talking about, beginning the rebuilding process. I think that doesn't happen until certainly the second half of the year and maybe late in the year at the earliest.
And more rain couldn't hurt.
Absolutely. It's critical to see more rain to stop getting worse.
All right. Thanks, Derrell. Dr. Derrell Peel, Livestock Marketing Specialist here at Oklahoma State University.